Welcome viewers to Historical Journeys. A classicist tosses soil out of the channel that she has dug in Tel Ashkelon Park, Israel. A section of grayish gets her attention. It very well may be important for a sculpture or segment. However, it's difficult, no doubt. The invigorated she eliminates as much earth as possible. This could be something gigantic, a connection back to scriptural times. Specialists diving in Israel revealed a stunning design connected to a famous scriptural ruler. But before we get started, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. It only takes a second, and you won't miss any of our future videos. Let's get started. However, at that point, the dig is concealed, and the archaeologists continue on. Furthermore, the mysteries of the structure that the sculpture had an entryway and stay shrouded in soil for a long time. It's not until 2008 that work restarts. Lastly, the mysteries of everything lies underneath, say, to Ashkelon Park, are uncovered in the entirety of their brilliance. What was there initially was crushed in a tremor that shook Israel. However, it has not altogether been neglected. Presently, in addition to the fact that archaeologists revealed have this landmark to Ashkelon is Roman past, however, they have enormous designs for it. It will rise in the future, and individuals who visit the city will get the opportunity to stand amazed at what lay covered for such a long time. The city of Ashkelon has existed for quite a while. It traces all the way back to the Stone Age, having been first established in 8000 BC, and it became significant as the greatest seaport in the country of Canaan during the Center Bronze Age. This is around 2000 to around 1550 BC. Such a significant and flourishing city turned into a succulent objective for winners. What's more, the Philistine public took it over in 1150 BCE. As we probably are aware from the Book of Scriptures, these individuals had a continuous clash with the Israelites in later times, and new victors appeared, the Babylonians. They obliterated the city in the 600s BC. Ashkelon had been a significant city before its obliteration, one of those that framed a Philistine state. You might review it from the good book. It's the city where Delilah clipped Samson's hair to deny him of his solidarity. It was very much cited sitting on the by means of Maris, an exchanging course among Egypt and Syria, and this situating made it thrive as a middle for exchange. Considering this significant area, it's no extraordinary amazement that the city would ascend again in a similar spot. When the Macedonian hero Alexander the Incomparable came to the region in the 300s BC, Ashkelon had risen once more. Be that as it may, it was presently a flourishing seaport, critical to territorial exchange under his rule. However, come the primary century BC, another arrangement of vanquishers turned up. These were the Romans, and they would control the area known as Judah for quite some time, and Judea had its own rulers back then. Yet they were solidly under the Roman thumb. A man with a name natural to us took power in the late years before Christ. This was Herod, who'd be known as the Incomparable, had just take full power in 37 BC. Yet when he made his name as a manufacturer. Judea flourished under Herod, despite the fact that he doesn't get a decent review in the Holy Book. He's referred to us as the person who needed to slaughter the honest people, an envious and horrendous despot. Anything the reality of that Herod was initially remembered to have been brought into the world in Ashkelon, that is currently viewed as false. However, all things being equal, he invested the city with a lot of engineering. The seaports grew well springs, Ashkelon, helps and shower houses, and different designs, as the city thrived subject to his authority. Israel Relic's authority dig boss, Sargainer Rachel Barnett, and Federico Cabrin gave an assertion about Ashkelon in May 2021. Among these have been a Roman grave, a congregation from the Byzantine time, and a metallic sculpture that is frightfully suggestive of the good book story of the brilliant calf. South of the advanced city is Tel Ashkelon Park. This is where the more established urban communities lay. It's a bustling site for archaeologists anxious to gain proficiency with the mysteries of the area. The recreation area incorporates demolished holy places, the walls of the Crusaders' city, and defenses styled by the Canaanites. Among the park's highlights is a nursery loaded with figures. From Roman times, One specific site has happened to note, and the dig is important to us. It was first chipped away at during the 1920s. Then, at that point, English archaeologists diverted up an immense sculpture from the Roman time. It highlighted Nike, who was the goddess of triumph remaining on chart book, the monster who holds up the earth. That was the main fortune that the Brits tracked down on the site. They likewise uncovered a sculpture from another culture. For this situation, Egypt, the goddess whom had highlighted was Isis. She was depicted as Tik, who was one of Aphrodite, his little girls, and filled in as a goddess of fortune. What's maybe particular is that having uncovered these remains, the English group set them back under the dirt. Once more, this was requested by John Garstang, who was responsible for the dig. However, as a general rule, this was as odd as it appears, in light of the fact that keeping the vestiges from harm was frequently finished. However, archaeologists didn't mess with the site for a long time after just returning in 2008. It was clear, nonetheless, that this was a significant archaeological region. Another dig would continue in the following 10 years, and whenever it was finished in 2018, a few bodies met up to revamp the old setting. That appeared to be smart, since the two digs had turned up something immense, which provided the specialists with a lot more noteworthy comprehension of the past, and recreating it would permit travelers to get a preference for the old time that addressed. However, what could it have been that the archaeologists had found classicist Rachel Barr-Nathan imparted to the Jerusalem Post in May 2021 that they'd realized it was enormous before the digs? She said John Garstang had previously determined the components of the structure, had likewise spotted marble sections that proposed that here was the structure referenced by Josephus. Indeed, the colonnaded opening was important for a colossal basilica. Basilica today infers a house of prayer or a significant church. However, that was the case in pre-Christian times. In the Roman day, it was an urban focus. It had a focal space and two openings that lay out of the way. The expectation was for it to act as a social occasion place for individuals of the flourishing port city. In any case, was this work by Herod? The overseers of the unearthing think it was. They told UK newspaper The Day Today, male Herodian coins found in the sheet material of the design's old floors showed that it was worked at the hour of one of the best manufacturers ever to have lived in the country. The structure must be huge and would have overshadowed the city of Ashkelon. Individuals came here to carry on with work and seek after legitimate undertakings. They would have additionally been in participation for strict services and exhibitions. The entire complex focal corridor and two wings would have had a rooftop. It's accepted the removal chiefs cleared up for the day-to-day. Mail the lobby was encircled with lines of marble sections and capitals, which rose to an expected level of 42 feet and upheld the structure's rooftop. Yet, the marble was nearby to Ashkelon, and it must be acquired. It was transported from across the Roman domain, including from Asia Minor. Paleontologist Gaynor told Israeli paper Haaretz in May 2021. You can find UI ships weighed down with marble cruising to Ashkelon. The basilica might have seemed like the structure for the ages. However, it was bound to keep going for a really long time. In AD 363, an immense seismic tremor shook the region. The structure was demolished and must be deserted. Also, the archaeologists said that the impacts of the seismic waves are obviously noticeable on the structure's floor. Additionally, when the Muslims took over Ashkelon, they used portions of the ruined basilica and different designs. A representative for the IAEA said in a proclamation, "There is proof from the Ottoman time frame that marble things were cut up for utilizes clearing stones, and a portion of the wonderful engineering highlights were taken for building development." Gaynor clarified for Hartz its best was taken to Jaffa, a region in Tel Aviv. That's right, there was a lot of material for the Muslims to utilize. The best visitor today is that the basilica estimated around 330 feet by 130 feet. However, the sections that framed its colonnade transcended in excess of 40 feet in the air. All things considered, they abandoned many lots of material in the 200-odd things that have been found. Furthermore, the stuff taken by the Muslims did all disappear like a phantom. Japhas Memudovir Mosque, Tel Aviv's biggest mosque, contains portions of the marble that had once enriched the basilica. Be that as it may, the archaeologists don't expect to permit the basilica just to lie in ruins. They will likely reproduce in any event some of it. They'll put segments and figures where they initially had a place, for instance, and upwards of 17 of the sections will be re-established in the corridor, which ought to provide people with a respectable thought of its appearance back in its prime. What's more, inside the basilica will sit a huge support point. It was lifted into the structure, not a simple errand, considering that it weighs numerous tons. It sits in a story that is going through reclamation. At the point when it's done, it will fill the basilica. There won't be a rooftop, be that as it may, yet there will be sufficient detail for guests to have the option to picture how the structure once took a gander at the southern finish of the basilica. The sculptures of the goddesses and divine beings will rise in the future. That is not all. The Odeon is likewise going through a period of reestablishment. This will see it given current seats somewhat more agreeable than the Romans delighted in, with a phase for exhibitions in May 2021. The IAEA couldn't give any subtleties of when it anticipated that the venture should get done, yet it said that seats would be set in the Odeon before very long. Guests to the Tel Ashkelon Park would have the choice of staying there and watching the presentation existing apart from everything else, the rebuilding of the basilica. When the undertaking is done, guests will have the choice to enter the basilica and stroll around it, taking in the scale. What's more, at some scale, this is the biggest basilica in Israel. By correlation, it's simply under around 50% of the length of St. Peter's Basilica in Vatican City. The reclamation will likewise incorporate in excess of a mile of pathways that will permit guests to investigate the historical backdrop of Ashkelon. These will be laid around the recreation area itself to integrate various highlights practically like a path. If you want to stay updated with our latest videos, subscribing is the way to go. Just click that red button below and become a part of our channel family.